At the farmer's market, an old man handed me a flyer and asked, "Have you seen my golden retriever?" I was picking up vegetables for Sunday dinner when this elderly man approached me near the tomato stand. He had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and wore a faded baseball cap, the type of grandfather you'd trust immediately. The flyer showed a beautiful golden retriever sitting in what looked like someone's backyard. The dog was gorgeous, with that classic golden coat and friendly expression that made you want to pet him. "His name is Buddy," the old man said sadly, his voice shaking slightly. "He's been missing for 3 days now. My wife and I are just heartbroken. He's been our companion for 8 years. I told him I hadn't seen the dog but would definitely keep an eye out around my neighborhood. He thanked me and handed me a piece of paper with his phone number written in shaky handwriting, asking me to call if I spotted Buddy anywhere in town. I stuck the flyer in my jacket pocket and finished my shopping, feeling genuinely sorry for the man. Losing a beloved pet is devastating, especially for older folks who treat their dogs like family members. But as I walked toward my car, I noticed something odd. The same elderly man was talking to other people throughout the farmer's market, handing out identical flyers and giving what seemed like the exact same speech about his missing golden retriever. That wasn't necessarily suspicious since he'd want to spread the word to as many people as possible. But something about his demeanor seemed different when talking to others. Less emotional, more methodical, like he was going through a rehearsed script rather than genuinely pleading for help finding his lost pet. Over the next few days, I started seeing the old man everywhere around town. Outside the grocery store on Tuesday morning, near the coffee shop I frequent on Wednesday afternoon, sitting in his car across from my gym on Thursday evening. Always with the same flyers, always asking different people about Buddy. It seemed like too much of a coincidence to keep running into him in a town of 30,000 people. Each time I saw him, he'd nod at me politely but never acknowledge that we'd already met or thanked me for helping look for his dog. On Friday evening, I was walking my own golden retriever Max through Riverside Park when I noticed the old man again. He was sitting on a bench near the playground, but instead of talking to people about his missing dog, he was just watching families with their pets. When he spotted me walking Max, his entire expression changed. He stared at us intensely for several seconds, then quickly pulled out his phone like he was taking pictures or making notes about something. The way he looked at Max made my skin crawl. Something about his behavior felt predatory, and I immediately changed directions to avoid walking past his bench. Max seemed to sense my discomfort and stayed close to my side instead of his usual wandering and sniffing. That night, I pulled the flyer out of my jacket to examine it more carefully. The photo of Buddy was high quality and professionally shot, but something about the background bothered me. The wooden fence and garden setting looked strangely familiar. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through recent photos of Max I'd taken in our backyard. My blood went cold when I found a picture from the previous weekend showing Max sitting in our yard. Same fence, same garden, same angle, same lighting conditions. But it was more than just similar. The dog in the missing pet flyer wasn't just a golden retriever that looked like Max. It was Max. Same distinctive white patch on his chest, same small scar on his left ear from a puppy accident, even the same collar I'd bought him last month. I called the phone number the old man had given me with shaking hands. A robotic voice answered, saying the number was disconnected. I rushed to check our back door and found it unlocked, even though I always secure it. Fresh footprints in the mud led from the fence to our house. Someone had been in our yard, taking pictures of Max, and that's when I realized what the old man had really been planning all along. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold my phone. I quickly call the police, trying to keep my voice steady as I explain the situation to the dispatcher. "Someone's been stalking me and my dog," I say, pacing the living room while keeping Max close to my side. "They've been following us for days, and now I found footprints leading from my fence to my back door. They've been in my yard taking pictures of my dog." The dispatcher asks me to stay on the line while they send an officer. I hang up only after they confirm someone is on the way. Max whines softly, sensing my anxiety, and I kneel to scratch behind his ears. "It's okay, buddy. I won't let anything happen to you." I move through the house methodically, checking every window and door. The front door gets the deadbolt, the chain, and for good measure, I drag the heavy entryway table in front of it. Every window gets locked and tested. I pull all the blinds shut, not wanting anyone to see inside. In the kitchen, I grab the largest knife we own and set it on the counter while I finish securing the house. It's probably overkill, but the image of that man watching Max, photographing him, photographing our home, has me terrified in a way I've never experienced before. The police arrive 20 minutes later. Officer Ramirez is young but professional, taking notes as I show her the flyer and explain the repeated coincidental sightings around town. "And you're certain this is your dog in the photo?" she asks, examining the flyer carefully. "Absolutely," I say, pointing to Max who's sitting nervously at my feet. "That's his white chest patch, his scar on his left ear from when he was a puppy. And the background, that's my backyard, my fence, my garden. Someone was in my yard taking pictures of my dog." I lead her outside with my flashlight, showing her the footprints in the mud. She takes photos, measuring the impression with a small ruler from her pocket. "Male, size 11 or 12, she notes. "And you said this man approached you first on Sunday at the farmer's market?" I nod, recounting each encounter in detail: the grocery store, coffee shop, gym, and finally Riverside Park. He never acknowledged that we'd already met. It was like he was pretending each time was the first. Officer Ramirez bags the flyer as evidence. "We've had reports of pet thefts in neighboring counties," she says, her expression grim. "Mostly purebreds. Golden retrievers fetch a high price. The word fetch makes me wince, thinking about how much Max loves playing in the yard, a yard I now realize isn't safe. I'm filing this as a stalking report and attempted breaking and entering. She continues, we'll increase patrols in your neighborhood for the next few days. In the meantime, I'd recommend getting some security cameras installed as soon as possible. After she leaves, I double-check all the locks again. The house feels different now, violated. I keep the lights on, too afraid to sleep in the darkness. Max seems to understand something's wrong and stays unusually close, following me from room to room. I call my boss and explain I need tomorrow off to handle a security issue at home. Then I spend the next hour researching home security systems on my phone, ordering the most comprehensive package I can find with next-day installation. When it's finally time for bed, I bring Max's dog bed into my bedroom for the first time since he was a puppy, but he ignores it, jumping onto my bed instead. Tonight, I don't have the heart to make him get down. I need him close as much as he needs me. We're gonna be okay, I whisper, burying my face in his soft fur. But even as I say it, I can't shake the image of that old man staring at Max with those calculating eyes that weren't kind at all. The grandfather facade had hidden something predatory beneath. I lie awake for hours, listening to every creak and settling noise in the house, startling at the sound of a car passing by. My phone is clutched in one hand, 911 pre-dialed and ready to send. The knife from the kitchen sits on my nightstand. Max eventually falls asleep, his warm body pressed against my side, but I remain vigilant. Sometime around 3 a.m., I hear a car slow down outside my house, and I freeze, holding my breath until it passes. First thing in the morning, I call a local security company and arrange for immediate installation. The technician arrives by 9 a.m., and I hover anxiously as he installs cameras covering every angle of the property: front door, back door, side gates, and especially the backyard where those footprints were found. You can access the feed from your phone, he explains, showing me the app. Motion detection will send alerts, and everything's recorded to cloud storage. I pay extra for rush installation and the premium monitoring package. The peace of mind is worth every penny. When he leaves, I stand in my living room watching the live feed on my phone, scanning each camera view for any sign of the old man. The neighborhood looks peaceful, normal, but I know better now. I know someone is out there, watching and waiting for an opportunity to take Max. And I'm gonna make damn sure they never get it. I wake up to the sound of Max whining softly beside me. The clock reads 5:38 a.m. I've barely slept 2 hours. Sunlight hasn't even begun to break through the blinds, but there's no way I'm going back to sleep, not with the memory of those footprints still fresh in my mind. Come on, boy, I whisper, reaching for my phone. Let's check our new security system. The app loads instantly, showing me multiple camera views of my property. Everything looks quiet and still in the blue-gray pre-dawn light. No movement, no shadowy figures lurking near the fence. I exhale slowly, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. After letting Max out into the backyard, standing guard at the door the entire time, I make coffee and call my neighbor, Elaine. She's an early riser and the unofficial neighborhood watch captain. I need a favor, I say after explaining yesterday's events. Can I look at your security footage from the past week? The police think this guy might have been watching my house. An hour later, I'm sitting at Elaine's kitchen table, scrolling through days of footage. Max lies at my feet, occasionally nudging my leg as if to reassure me he's still there. There, Elaine points at the screen. Tuesday afternoon, around 2:30, the footage shows a car moving slowly down our street, too slowly for someone just passing through. It stops almost directly across from my house. The angle isn't perfect, but I can make out an elderly man with a baseball cap getting out, pretending to check something on his phone while angling it toward houses. He's taking pictures, I mutter, feeling sick. Look, he's photographing all the houses with fences. We continue scrolling and find him again on Thursday morning, this time walking a small dog, a prop. I realize with growing horror, stopping frequently to let the dog sniff while he surveys the neighborhood. I'm calling Officer Ramirez, I say, already dialing. She answers on the third ring, and I quickly explain what we've found. There's something else, she says after I finish. We've had 3 other reports from golden retriever owners in town, describing similar encounters with an elderly man. Same story about a missing dog named Buddy, same approach. One woman said he followed her home from the dog park last week. My stomach drops. This isn't random, is it? He's specifically targeting golden retrievers. We're looking into it, she says carefully. In the meantime, don't leave Max unattended, even in your fenced yard. I thank her and head to work, leaving Max safely inside with all doors locked and the security system armed. I've barely settled at my desk when my phone buzzes with an alert from my security app. Motion detected in front yard. I tap the notification with shaking fingers. The footage shows a silver sedan driving slowly past my house. I zoom in on the driver. It's him, the old man from the farmer's market. My breath catches in my throat as I watch him circle the block twice before finally driving away. I call Officer Ramirez again, forwarding her the footage. She promises to send a patrol car to my neighborhood but advises me to stay at work where I'm safe. I try to focus on my spreadsheets, but my mind keeps drifting to Max alone at home. What if the security system fails? What if the old man knows how to disable it? At lunch, I step outside to call my neighbor and ask her to check on Max. As I scan the parking lot out of habit, my blood freezes. There, parked across the street, is the same silver sedan. The old man sits behind the wheel, pretending to read a newspaper, but I can feel his eyes on me through the windshield. I duck back inside and call 911, hands trembling so badly I can barely hold the phone. By the time officers arrive, the car is gone. but they take my statements seriously, especially when Officer Ramirez joins them and connects it to my previous reports. We've identified him, she tells me quietly. Walter Hemsley, 68. He has a history of pet theft in other counties, never violent, but persistent. We believe he's part of a network that steals purebred dogs to sell. What do I do? I ask, feeling helpless. He knows where I live, where I work. We're building a case, she assures me. In the meantime, don't let Max out of your sight. I leave work early, unable to concentrate with the knowledge that Walter Hemsley is watching me. When I get home, Max greets me with his usual enthusiasm, completely unaware of the danger circling our lives. That evening, I decide to give Max a bath, something to keep my hands busy while I try to process everything. As I remove his collar, something catches my eye, a small bulge in the fabric that wasn't there before. With trembling fingers, I examine the collar I bought just last month. There, stitched into the seam so skillfully I would never have noticed if I hadn't been looking closely, is a flat, round object the size of a quarter. Oh my God, I whisper, carefully prying it loose. It's a tracking device, small, sophisticated, and definitely not something I put there. I drop it like it's burning my fingers, mind racing. When did Walter have access to Max's collar? The only time Max was out of my sight was when I was at work, but the doors were locked. Then I remember the footprints leading from my fence to the back door. The door I found unlocked. He'd been in my house while I was at work. He'd touched Max's things, handled his collar, planted a way to track our movements. I grab my phone and take photos of the device before carefully placing it in a plastic bag. Then I call Officer Ramirez again. He's been inside my house, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. He put a tracking device on Max's collar. He knows everywhere we've been going. There's a moment of silence before she responds. This changes things. We need to set up surveillance. If he's escalating to breaking and entering, we need to catch him before he attempts to take your dog. I look at Max, peacefully drying himself on the bathroom rug, completely oblivious to the fact that someone has been hunting him, someone who now knows our every move. Whatever it takes, I say, resolve hardening my voice. I want this man caught before he tries again. As I hang up, I realize with chilling clarity, Walter Hemsley isn't just watching us anymore. He's preparing to make his move. And when he does, I'll be ready. We need to set a trap, I say, pacing back and forth in my living room while Officer Ramirez takes notes. It's been 2 days since I discovered the tracking device in Max's collar, and I haven't slept more than a couple hours at a time. Every noise makes me jump. Every car that slows down near my house sends my heart racing. I agree, Officer Ramirez says, looking up from her notepad. Walter Hemsley is escalating. The tracking device proves he's planning to take Max, and soon. Max lies at my feet, blissfully unaware of the danger surrounding him. I reach down to scratch behind his ears, and he leans into my touch with complete trust. The thought of Walter taking him makes my stomach clench. What if we use the tracking device against him? I suggest. Put it on another golden retriever as bait? Officer Ramirez considers this for a moment. That could work. We'd need a volunteer with a similar-looking dog, and we'd need to ensure their safety. My neighbor Elaine's sister has a golden retriever. I say, already pulling out my phone. Her dog Samson looks a lot like Max, similar build, same coloring. The white chest patch is smaller, but from a distance, they could be mistaken for each other. 20 minutes later, Elaine and her sister Jenna are sitting in my living room with Samson, who immediately starts playing with Max. The two dogs circle each other excitedly, their tails wagging in perfect synchrony. So let me get this straight, Jenna says, her eyes wide. You want to use my dog as bait to catch a professional pet thief? Officer Ramirez steps in. We'll have plainclothes officers positioned throughout the park. Samson will never be in actual danger. We just need Walter to approach, to make his move. The tracking device will make him think it's Max. I add, he's been stalking us for days. He knows our routines, where we go. If he sees a golden retriever with my collar at Riverside Park during our usual Friday evening walk time, he'll assume it's us. Jenna looks down at Samson, who's now sprawled on his back getting belly rubs from Max. And this guy has stolen other dogs? He's part of some kind of theft ring? At least 3 other golden retrievers in town have been approached by Walter using the same story, Officer Ramirez confirms. And we suspect he's responsible for pet thefts in neighboring counties. This operation could help us recover those dogs and shut down the entire network. After some more discussion, Jenna agrees. We spend the next hour planning every detail. I'll stay home with Max, doors locked, security system armed. Jenna will walk Samson through Riverside Park wearing my jacket and hat, following the exact route Max and I usually take. Samson will wear Max's collar with the tracking device reinserted. Remember, Officer Ramirez tells Jenna, if Walter approaches, act normal. Pretend you don't recognize him. Let him tell his story about his missing dog buddy. What if he tries to grab Samson? Jenna asks, nervousness creeping into her voice. We'll have officers stationed throughout the park, Ramirez assures her. The moment he makes any suspicious move, we'll intervene. Your job is just to be the bait that draws him in. Friday evening arrives with agonizing slowness. I pace my living room, watching the security camera feeds while simultaneously tracking Samson's collar on my phone. Max watches me from the couch, head tilted in confusion at why we're not on our usual walk. It's for your own safety, buddy, I tell him, sitting down beside him. I promise we'll go for an extra long walk tomorrow. My phone buzzes with a text from Jenna, in position at the park entrance, starting our walk now. I switch to the tracking app and watch the little dot that represents Max's collar begin to move along our usual route. Officer Ramirez sends a confirmation that all officers are in place. Now we wait. 10 minutes pass. 20. My palms are sweating as I stare at the screen. The dot continues its steady progress through the park. Then suddenly, It stops. My phone rings. It's Officer Ramirez. He's here, she whispers. Silver sedan just pulled up. Walter's getting out. He's watching Jenna and Samson from the playground area. My heart pounds so hard I can hear it in my ears. Is Jenna okay? She's fine. Playing it perfectly. She's letting Samson sniff around by the bench where you usually stop. I switch to speakerphone so I can hear everything happening in real time. Through the line, I hear distant voices. Then Ramirez whispers, he's approaching her now. I close my eyes, picturing the scene. Walter, with his grandfatherly appearance and calculated kindness, approaching Jenna with that same flyer, telling that same story about his missing dog Buddy. Excuse me, miss? I hear Walter's voice through the phone, the same gentle tone he used with me at the farmer's market. I'm sorry to bother you, but I've lost my dog. He's a golden retriever. Looks a lot like yours. His name is Buddy. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jenna responds, her voice steady despite what must be tremendous anxiety. How long has he been missing? 3 days now, Walter says, and I can almost see him pulling out the flyer. My wife is heartbroken. We've had him for 8 years. There's a pause, and Ramirez whispers, he's showing her the flyer. Same one he showed you. I'll keep an eye out, Jenna says. Do you have a number where I can reach you if I see him? Another pause, then Ramirez's voice, urgent. He's reaching into his pocket. Not for paper, it's some kind of spray. Moving in now. My breath catches as I hear sudden movement, shouting, Jenna's startled cry, Samson barking, police, don't move. Multiple voices overlap, then Ramirez comes back on the line, breathless. We got him. He had a sedative spray, was about to use it on Samson. His van is parked nearby, we're searching it now. I collapse onto the couch in relief, burying my face in Max's fur. Is Jenna okay? And Samson? Both fine, shaken, but unharmed. An hour later, Officer Ramirez calls again with an update. You're not going to believe what we found in Walter's van, she says, her voice grim. Sedatives, multiple leashes, collars with tracking devices, and 3 dog crates. Plus detailed files on at least a dozen golden retrievers in the area, including Max. Photos, schedules, notes about your routines. My God, I whisper, looking at Max sleeping peacefully beside me. What was he planning to do with them? We think he's part of an international pet theft ring. The dogs are stolen to order, then shipped overseas where purebreds can sell for thousands of dollars. Walter's phone had communications with contacts in Eastern Europe and Asia. We're working with federal authorities now to identify his accomplices. I think about all those families missing their beloved pets, the heartbreak and confusion they must feel. Will you be able to find the stolen dogs? We hope so. Walter's already talking, trying to cut a deal. He's given us an address for a warehouse where they keep the dogs before transport. We're organizing a raid now. That night, I sleep soundly for the first time in weeks, with Max curled up beside me on the bed. The knowledge that Walter Hemsley is behind bars brings a peace I'd forgotten was possible. In the morning, my phone lights up with a text from Officer Ramirez. Warehouse raid successful. 6 golden retrievers recovered, all alive and well. Owners being contacted now. Thank you for helping us break this case open. I look down at Max, his tail thumping against the mattress as he blinks sleepily up at me. We did it, buddy. I whisper, leaning down to press my forehead against his. You're safe now. We're both safe. I take a deep breath as I step into the courthouse, clutching a folder of notes against my chest like a shield. The marble floors echo with my footsteps as Officer Ramirez guides me through security and toward courtroom 3. It's been 6 weeks since Walter Hemsley was arrested in Riverside Park, and today I'm testifying against him. You ready? Ramirez asks, pausing before we enter the courtroom. I nod, though my stomach is doing somersaults. As ready as I'll ever be. Inside, the room is smaller than I expected, nothing like the dramatic courtrooms on TV. Walter sits at the defense table in an ill-fitting suit that makes him look frailer than I remember. When our eyes meet, I feel a chill run through me. The grandfatherly facade is gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. The prosecutor, a sharp-looking woman named Miss Delaney, walks me through the timeline of events: my first encounter with Walter at the farmer's market tomato stand, the repeated coincidental sightings, the flyer with Max's photo, and finally discovering the tracking device in Max's collar. And you're certain this is the same man who approached you multiple times? Miss Delaney asks, pointing to Walter. Yes, I say firmly. He approached me on Sunday at the farmer's market, then Tuesday morning outside the grocery store, Wednesday afternoon near the coffee shop, Thursday evening across from my gym, and finally Friday evening at Riverside Park. And each time, what story did he tell you? That his golden retriever named Buddy had been missing for 3 days, that he and his wife had owned Buddy for 8 years, and were heartbroken. He never acknowledged that he'd already approached me before. Walter's attorney tries to paint his client as a confused elderly man with no criminal intent, but the evidence is overwhelming. The tracking device from Max's collar, the sedatives found in his van, the detailed files on golden retrievers throughout our town of 30,000 people. When I step down from the witness stand, my legs feel wobbly. Officer Ramirez meets me in the hallway with a bottle of water and an update. The warehouse raid yielded more than we expected, she says quietly. 6 golden retrievers were recovered, all alive but some malnourished. 4 have already been reunited with their families. The other 2 had their microchips removed, so we're still trying to identify their owners. What about the international connection? I ask, remembering the files they'd found on Walter's phone. That's where it gets interesting. Walter wasn't just working alone. We've identified 3 other operatives in neighboring counties who were doing the same thing, targeting specific breeds, especially golden retrievers. They had buyers lined up in Eastern Europe and Asia willing to pay upwards of $5,000 per dog. I think about Max waiting for me at home, probably sprawled on the couch where I left him this morning, that distinctive white patch on his chest rising and falling with each breath. The thought that he could have ended up in a crate being shipped overseas makes my blood run cold. Will the others be arrested too? 2 already have been. The third is still at large, but we've got alerts out. Walter's cooperation has been selective. He's trying to minimize his own involvement while giving us just enough to secure a deal. 3 days later, I'm back in court for the sentencing. Walter pleads guilty to multiple counts of pet theft, breaking and entering, and attempted dog napping. When the judge announces an 8-year sentence, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. 8 years. Max will be an old dog by the time Walter Hemsley is free again. Outside the courthouse, several other golden retriever owners are waiting. I recognize them from the case files, the families who'd reported similar encounters with Walter, using his missing buddy story. A woman with graying hair approaches me, her golden retriever sitting obediently at her side. I just wanted to thank you, she says, extending her hand. If you hadn't set that trap, Cooper might have been next. Cooper wags his tail at the sound of his name, and I bend down to scratch behind his ears. I'm just glad they caught him before he could take any more dogs. We're starting a community watch program, another owner says, specifically focused on pet security. We'd love for you to join us. I agree immediately. The experience with Walter has left me hyper-aware of how vulnerable our pets can be. That night, I research additional security measures for Max. The tracking device Walter planted was sophisticated, but 2 can play at that game. I order a GPS tracker of my own, one that will alert my phone if Max ever leaves our property unexpectedly. The following week, I take Max to the vet for his annual checkup and ask about microchipping options. He already has a basic microchip, Dr. Chen explains, but we can upgrade to one with GPS capabilities. It's more expensive, but given what you've been through, do it, I say without hesitation, whatever it costs. As Dr. Chen prepares the injection, I hold Max's face between my hands, looking into those trusting brown eyes. No one's ever going to take you from me, I whisper, I promise. The microchip procedure only takes a minute. Max barely notices, more interested in the treat Dr. Chen offers afterward. On our way home, we stop at Riverside Park, our first visit since the sting operation. I'm nervous at first, scanning the parking lot for silver sedans, checking faces for anyone who might be watching us too closely. But as Max bounds across the grass, chasing a tennis ball with pure joy, I feel something inside me begin to heal. The park is just a park again, not a crime scene, not a place of fear. Officer Ramirez calls that evening with news. The last 2 golden retrievers have been identified and returned to their families, she says. One had been missing for over 6 months. The owners had given up hope. That's amazing, I say, watching Max gnaw contentedly on his favorite toy. There's more. Walter's testimony helped federal agents intercept a shipment of dogs at JFK Airport, 15 purebreds in crates, headed for overseas buyers. The ring is crumbling, and it all started with you noticing something wasn't right with that flyer. I think back to that moment at the farmer's market, Walter approaching me, near the tomato stand with his story about missing Buddy. How easily I could have just taken the flyer, promised to keep an eye out, and forgotten about it. How many more dogs might have disappeared if I hadn't noticed the pattern of his appearances. The next day, I attend my first meeting of the Pet Security Watch Group. 20 pet owners gather in a community center, sharing stories and strategies. I tell them about the tracking device in Max's collar, about Walter photographing our houses, about the sophisticated operation he was part of. They're organized, I explain. We need to be too. We create a text alert system for the neighborhood, design flyers warning about pet theft techniques, and establish walking buddies so no one exercises their dog alone. It feels good to transform my fear into action, to help others protect their pets the way I wish I'd known to protect Max from the beginning. That night, I check all the security cameras before bed, a habit I don't think I'll ever break. Max jumps onto the bed, circling 3 times before settling against my side. We're okay now, I tell him, running my fingers through his soft fur, feeling the small bump where his new GPS microchip sits beneath his skin. We're safe. And for the first time since finding those footprints leading to my back door, I actually believe it.